And I am super happy that you're here. This show is called Unveiling Journeys. And if this is your first time, welcome. And if you've seen me before, oh my gosh, you know that I am obsessed. I love meeting cool people. I love hearing their stories. I love sharing all of the people that I know with the world. And a lot of times I meet people through the power of networking. Incredible masterminds, like high level events where I love to go and meet people that are moving and shaking in the world, I guess you want to say. In that, I have an amazing guest for you. And we met at an incredible networking group. And let's just say he has a wonderful story. I'm so happy that he's here and we get to hear about like unveiling his journey. And I get to ask him questions through that. So do me a favor, round of applause while you're at home. And let's welcome Tom Daly. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, tell me a little bit about you and what it is you're doing right now.
I'd love to, Tiffany. So good to be here. It's great to see you again, and I love the opportunity. Um, what I'm doing right now, so it's crazy. So I am my crazy title that nobody knows what it is. I call myself a fractional CRO, and people are like, "Well, I know what a fractional CFO. What's that all about?" And I was like, "Well, basically, it's sales, right?"
Yeah.
And so what we do is just really helping companies that are either stuck, happens a lot, right? They just need a little something else to get going, or they've got a great new idea and not really sure how to go to market. So it's really fun. I get to, without spending all the money, I get to spend their money, getting them to really do some cool stuff. So I say I really do two things. Fractional is crazy. I call myself a sales growth architect. It's really about growing sales, which is amazing. And so either I'm helping you fix your infrastructure, the stuff you need to do it, or if you lost your sales manager, she was amazing for 5 years. What are we going to do? So you need somebody to have impact and babysit the store and keep the machine running. I can do that fractionally for a period of time while I go hunt for your new leader. And so I do both of those things and I'm doing it. And while the world's a little crazy right now, the need for all that is still huge. So it's good.
Oh my gosh, hands down. This is why I love hanging out with people over and over again because just me hearing all your fun little words, I'm like, I know so many more people that need you. And I am going to keep bumping into more people that need exactly the services that you provide. Do you have the ability to provide what it is you do remotely, or do you have to be on site?
No, we don't. And really, the pandemic gave us the one gift of really being good at virtual work. So I can do most of my work. In fact, I have clients across the world. I have one in Australia. I really have to go on site though. That I've got to go on site because it's so cool. Never been there. But yeah, what we do, I like to be on hands-on as much as I can, but it's not necessary, and I've gotten very used to it. So I can go anywhere.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, the word fractional to me, I think like, what does that mean to people? I have no idea what that means. You're coming in and you're not an employee of the company. You're just like what they need. You're fixing it, right?
You absolutely are. And usually in our role, what we do is we do assume a role on the leadership team because you can imagine while you're building the growth machine, there's a huge strategic play there. So it's really necessary that in my engagements, I'm deeply immersed in the leadership team as well. But I'm not an employee, I'm on the outside.
Hmm.
And that does two things. Number one, you're not quite as familiar, and that can be a real advantage because you don't have to exactly watch what you say. You can really give tough love without getting fired, right? And so it
Yeah.
gives you advantage not being on the team, which seems weird at first, but when you think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Man, this is so cool. I always forget that the fractional world exists. Sometimes coming from, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, but
Mhm.
back when you're a W-2 or you're like breaking out of the shell of being like self-employed, you think, "Oh, I have to work for someone," or, some people that are in that frame of mind. So it's cool that you can take all the things that you do and are able to apply it really to multiple companies even at the same time because you can
Mhm.
diversify everything you're doing.
Yeah, fractional's big. And I mean, it's every type of fractional out there, and it really works because if you think about it and showing my age a little bit, there was a time in corporate America that it was just full of very highly compensated middle managers. And through a lot of reasons, that has sort of shrunk. So we have scads of highly educated, very experienced, wonderful people that are probably not going back to corporate America that would really like to ply their trade. And in fact, that's hard because they have to sell themselves. So quite often in my networking, what I end up doing is like, I'm a sales guy. Can I help you? And that's where really the relationships get good. And you're like, let
Mm.
me help you a little bit on your LinkedIn outreach. Let me make some introductions for you. You're new to the sales game. You didn't do that in your accounting role when you were in corporate America, but now you have to sell yourself. And it's not that hard if you think about it. So
Mm.
when you're networking, of course you want to say, hey, send me a lead or two. That's great. But if you can give a little bit and just say, hey, let me help you out a little bit, that's the basis of a relationship. It's not just what can you give me? It's like, what can we do cool together? And that's a difference I think that some don't get, but I think the folks that are really good at networking, they do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is so cool. I feel like
Mhm.
I could ask you questions all day long because I love how people have this thing that they've invented and or, maybe it was already an invented, but you were able to go and make companies worlds better. And being over the sales side of stuff, this is how a company eats to live. So I feel like your role is so important. But let's do this. I want to start from the very beginning.
Yep.
Where are you from? And like what did you want to be when you grew up? Like what you go to school for? Like tell me it all. I want to hear your
Oh,
journey in this.
yeah, so crazy. So I believe in Irish luck. That's my thing. That I believe that I've always been smiled on despite anything that might happen. So I was actually born as an only child to older parents years and years ago. I won't even say many, many. And so actually they had fragile health. So I became an orphan at age 12.
Oh,
And so
no.
my mom died when I was 10 and my dad died when I was 12. And that's very unfortunate. That's awful. But again, I really believe that there's a grand plan because I
Mm.
know years later what my parents did. First of all, I was an only child and we were poor. I didn't know that. I thought we were rich because I had everything I need, right? I was spoiled rotten and I just didn't know. So it was just really my parents, but they had set it up so that they knew where I would go if anything would happen for them. They had it all planned out. So as it turned out, I ended up living with my next guardian was my cousin by blood. They were just older, and I went to live in New Jersey, and that was okay. That was fine. And actually, I grew up in DC and then so
Okay.
moved to New Jersey. And then they moved to Saudi Arabia 2 years later. And they went to the oil company where it was ninth grade for me, and they no longer have American school after ninth grade. So they gave me a catalog and said, find a boarding school. I was like, are you kidding me? Seriously?
What?
And so I was a brat, and I was like, first of all, it's got to be in New Jersey, where I am, and it has to be co ed. Apparently, that was important to me. So anyway, I did
I
that.
mean, in ninth grade, yeah.
Right? It was super important. And so anyway, I picked Petty, and so just an outstanding boarding school. So I was the token blue collar kid getting an amazing education, really just trying to traverse what this new world was. And of course, it was an outstanding education. So I was able to get myself into college, and I went to the University of Richmond, home of the Spiders, and went there. And I had a little bit of money from insurance that my parents had left me. They planned ahead.
Oh,
And then I
yeah.
worked my way through being a bartender, and it was just outstanding. So everything of my wife, you could say, oh, well, that was too bad that I have. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of bad, but look what happened because of it.
Yeah.
I have that kind of fortune that follows me around. So it's really awesome. So I went to University of Richmond, and then by then I was broke. I had a few loans out. What am I going to do? Any job. So I had that resume, right?
Yeah, but what was
Seeking
your
a
degree
job
in?
in marketing, sales, management, anything, right? Just give me a
Yeah.
job. And it was so funny. So I got my first job. I met a big Italian guy from New Jersey, Paul Cartabiano. I'll never forget. And it was Monroe calculators. If you can remember calculators back in the
Yeah.
day, right? They actually were a big deal. And they got into the copier business like everybody else did in the 80s. So literally my job was to, in 100-degree heat or 30-degree weather in a three-piece suit, knock on doors 40 times a day trying to sell people copiers. And I was so young and naive, I didn't realize. I was like, wow, that job sucks, but I didn't know it. Right. And so when you're naive, I succeeded. So did pretty well, became a national sales trainer, kept going, and I got into management as a young buck. I was like 24 years old and I'm a general manager. All my direct reports are like 48 to 60. And I'm like, oh, geez. But it was cool, right? So I was in the office products business, not knowing what you're doing. So you're making a lot of mistakes, but you're learning fast. And
Mhm.
so from there, I pivoted to high tech. I went into a company you've never heard of, but it was once the biggest computer company in the world called Businessland. That's where I cut my teeth in high tech. Then I completely pivoted to telecommunications, and I love all these business. I always say I can really sync companies if you want me to. PageNet, paging was a thing once upon a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I actually ran the large operation in South Florida, as one of the largest in the country. We had over a 500,000 units in service. People paid every single month. It was a crazy
Yeah.
business. There's probably 2,000 of them now, but it was a great learning. I ran a huge operation. It was just one of those things, and became a corporate nomad, just flying all over the place. And then I just said, gosh, paging went away. What do I do? I don't need to be in this high tech anymore. Where can I go that's not techy? So I went as low tech as you could go. I went to the uniform business, which is industrial laundry, right? And so I did that for a couple of years, followed the money. Biggest mistake I did. I just didn't enjoy it. It was like doing
Yeah.
business in the 1940s. I just didn't love it. At that point, our two girls were grown, and I told my wife, good news, I'm not doing the corporate thing anymore. I'm going to start my own business. And she's like, oh, great. Okay, cool. So I did what you should never do. I went out and I bought a restaurant.
No
If you're ever
way.
tempted, I'll explain why you don't want to ever do that, but I did
Yeah.
it. We did okay, and we built it into a big catering operation in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was doing great until the Great Recession really took us out by the knees, because we were a banking town, and that was one of the first things they cut is catering, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I hung out because I'm like, been through recessions. I'm good, no problem. I wasn't good, right? It was really bad. So we actually used all of our life savings to make payroll for the last 2 years. And then finally, you just have that marital decision. And I'm still married after owning a restaurant. I'm pretty excited, right? But we finally said, we're done. My wife's like,
Yeah.
we got nothing left. So we sold it for a song, and that was difficult. But
The
that's what
song.
started my consulting journey. And so
Yeah.
from there on out, I've been a consultant ever since. And losing everything provides clarity.
Hmm.
And I love it, because now what I teach people is not to make the mistakes I made, which is really kind of fun. I'm like, come up with your own. You will, but don't make these mistakes, because this is why. And so that my ability to talk to people and say, look, I've owned multiple businesses. I've failed at most of them, and I know why.
Hmm.
And now I know how to make success. And that piece is really, really compelling. So it's been interesting. And so I did that, and then I was the small business development center director during COVID, not by design, just happened. And then I got to be friends with your old alma mater at Embry Riddle, and I just had a lot of great connections there, and it was going well. Discovered I am not cut out for government in any way, but I did discover how much need is out there, and it was
Hmm.
tremendous. So Sales Acceleration reached out to me and said, do you want to be a part of this odyssey? And I said, I do. And 3.5 years later, I love it. And what's cool about Sales Acceleration, it's the best. But I'm an authorized reseller. I'm my own corporation. So I decide how to do my engagements, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the best of both possible worlds. Awesome
Hmm.
community. And I get to help people. And for me, I don't know if I'll never stop working. I'll always do something, even maybe less than I do now. But this is what I do. I don't golf. I like a lot of other hobbies, but this is where I enjoy myself, helping others and just learning new things every day. So it's been a great journey, and so far, and I feel like I'm just getting started too. So which is
Right.
cool.
Yeah. It's always like a reinvention when you go from like thing to thing. And even in real estate, like for me, it's like, oh, when you go to a flip, you go to a hold, you go to a new tenant, a new town, like it's like a new experience, a new day for that. Hey, you said
Yeah.
something about like, oh, I don't recommend anybody get into a restaurant. What was that nugget? You were totally
Yeah.
going to share one.
Yeah, so it's interesting because everybody, I always tell them, look, restaurant business is like no other. I'm like, yeah, I know that. It's because of the long hours. I'm like, no, no, no. What it is, it's fundamental. It's zero defect manufacturing, right? You got to get it right most of the time.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you have problems with people coming back. And that's the big deal. You don't make money off the people that visit you once. You need the people that come to you weekly or multiple times a week. And that's hard to establish. So you're
Hmm.
doing that. So zero defect manufacturing, that's hard. And unlike manufacturing, face to face customer experience. Sometimes the restaurant is crappy, but the experience is so wonderful, people keep coming back. And so
Yeah.
those are two really difficult things to do. And then you're going to try to pull that off with the lowest common denominator of labor.
Hmm.
So when you look at that, that's super difficult to pull all that together consistently. And it's a business, it's a game of inches. So there's so many pieces, parts, so many moving ones. It's not that it's uniquely difficult. It's difficult because there's so many different things to do simultaneously. And that's why it's hard. And the biggest part is really being able to make money in the moment, because you have very little control in the moment of your costs or the market. So some of that is really, really, really difficult. So when you're growing, you can do very well. And there are ways to do it. I always use the example of Chick-fil-A. If you ever have an opportunity to get to know an operator, and have them come in the early morning to operate, to show you how they do what they do in there, you start to understand why they're so darn profitable. It's really
Mm.
critical. But that part of restaurant work, if you're not ready for that, it's difficult. So that's my tidbit. So if you're ever tempted, like, I want to have a restaurant, I'm like, I can tell you why you might not. So anyway,
I think I've never just wanted to have one because 'cause I've seen the
yeah,
statistics on it. It's
it's
like
hard. Yeah,
the low percentage even make it past 18 months, and the
it's
percentage
hard.
makes it past that, and nowadays, eating out is like, who's eating out if they can't, right? So, it's a
Yeah.
luxury at this point.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting. And the other piece, and I won't go on and on about restaurants, but part of it is the complexity. Most of the chain restaurants you go to, if you open a menu, it's got like 150 different items on it. And that complexity is just in the, oh, I got to have that because kids want this and they want that. The more you do that, the more complicated and the more margin dependent it becomes. You have more loss, more theft, more everything. And that's why really the businesses that do well, I mean, I know they're kind of hurting now, but like like Two Guys or anything like that, that's a single play when they're really supposed to be good at one thing, that's
Mhm.
generally recommended. But
Hmm,
it's hard. But
man.
been there. I still love eating out and I love eating. I love cooking. I love the experience. The part where you don't make a lot of money, that one's tough. So
Yeah, hands down, right?
yeah. So
Uh, those are incredible lessons that you've taken with you from it.
yeah.
The thing that I was talking to you about a little bit earlier was like, "Oh my gosh, what kept you going through all of this? Like, what was the reason that you decided not to quit, not to give up?" Because that's what's all about, in my opinion, being an entrepreneur is like, man, you don't fail until you quit, right? Like, no, you just keep trying and keep trying.
Yeah. It's a big thing. And I know entrepreneurs go through this and you come in and you come out because you have this vision that you created and it's wonderful and you've got all that. And then you go to execute and it starts to work. And so you really get fired up until it doesn't. And that can be soul sucking because it's your money on the line, it's your life
Yeah.
on the line, it's your family's participating and they don't even know it. And
Yeah.
so all of that can be extremely scary. But if you flip it over and just say, the human experience is about community, getting to know people, but it's also about developing yourself, being the best part. Because whenever we achieve happiness for the moment, right? It's always fleeting.
Yeah.
The most happy moments have to do with family, friends, how we were able to get over a personal barrier. Those are the things that make us go, huh, great. A child that's able to learn how to do something. Those things are the ones that inspire us. And I don't mean to be all Pollyanna. What I'm saying is that's what we're driven to do. And we all need assistance and we need help. And when communities and networks are functional and they're happening, it is nirvana because you're kind of doing that. And like you said, like you help that customer out and they're like, oh, I hope I find another customer like that. But you find another one that's totally different. You're like, I wasn't even looking for you. That was interesting. And so it just gets better. And then that you have that moments where you're like, oh, I'm tired today.
Hmm.
I don't think I want to do anything. Well, have a conversation. Are you tired because you're working too hard? Okay, let's take a day off and let's absolutely have a head clearing day, right? Are you tired because you're just not focused? Are you tired because you're disappointed in yourself, right? So use that time to figure out what is really causing it. The same way you do with your clients, right? You're always looking for what are they trying to accomplish or what are they really in pain over? Because the other things I could possibly tell them are going to fall on deaf ears. So let me find out what's really important to them so I can help them. We all want to do that. So what drives me is just the ability to do that. And I always say that I actually gave a little sales training to a group today. It was really fun. And I said, it's funny because we're all in sales because we make money, right? And everybody goes, you money grubbing, talk people out of their money people. I'm like, not good salespeople. What do you think good salespeople really are driven by? And they're like helping people. I'm like, exactly. They dig it because if I go home to my spouse, I don't tell her, I'm like, good news, honey. I just made $25,000 on this transaction. I mean, I don't say that, right? I'll say, I met the coolest woman today. I know what she's doing, and I'm really sure I can help her. And we just connected. It was awesome. Those are the stories I tell. I tell my wife about times I helped people or a
Mhm.
funny story or something that happened. So that's what drives me, that human connection. And I don't think it'll ever stop. And it's so funny because it's like, we always hear the adage, the more you help other people, it's funny how you get lucky. All of a sudden you get a weird email like, hey, bud, haven't talked to you in a while. I got something for you. And you're like, where did that come from? That's pretty
Mhm.
neat. So I just love to keep plugging and meeting new people. And then the best part is when you get to meet more people, you have like all these cool folks, and you're like, oh, you two would have a really crazy conversation. This will be neat.
Yeah. You're speaking my
And
language right here.
yeah, so it's just so fun, and I just don't know any other way. And so I think I finally found my this is my Chautauqua. I think this is what I will always do, and it's just super fun.
Yeah. Well, whenever you transition from like your last business, where you're like, man, I'm just going to go consulting. How did you decide what style of consulting you were going to open up, even
Yeah.
from the experience that you had?
Yeah, super. And that's in the line of mistakes, right? I was like, hey, who can I get money from? What can I do? So,
Mhm.
I knew how to do technology consulting. I've always been a trainer. I can write curriculum, I can do things like that. So, I just really went through my network trying to find people that I knew and just kind of say, hey, I got a menu of stuff I can do. What do you need? Not really recommended, but it did allow me to cut my teeth because, sure enough, I mean, it's nice when you call your friends because some of them take pity on you and say, okay, sure, I'll throw you a bone. And so getting a number of those started to show me what I could be doing. So I really kind of stayed very firmly in the sales training lane for a while. Part of that was because my wife consulted in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, and so she hired me to do that training, consulting, and curricula and all that, and it was really fun. It was really interesting, so really cool. So I just learned that, and then I kept doing that, and I just kept my book going until the SBDC reached out to me. So I took it on as a gig,
Mhm.
realized I was like, that looks like it's pretty easy. It looks like it's kind of fun. And once I got into it, it was really involved because it was during the pandemic. So all my other consulting just had to take a back seat to it because I was working around the clock. We were the free entity to get your PPP, your idle money, et cetera.
Oh,
So we were
yeah.
in super high demand, and because we were in Florida, of course, if you were in healthcare or I'm sorry, in hospitality or food service, you didn't have a great time. I mean, Florida was better, but it was still bad times.
Yeah.
Other businesses did fine. So we kind of said, here's this printed money. You can
Mhm.
buy a truck, you can take it to the bottom line, or what else could we do with this if we did? And I throw an example out there. One was he was, a little older than me. He was ready for an exit. He had already identified his internal candidate to be able to take over. The guy wasn't liquid, and it was going to be really hard and awkward to get PE to do that thing and whatever. So he said, well, what if I just take the PPP money and then let him use that to finance his portion and then pay the loan back to the company? I
Mm.
was like, yeah, exactly. So we did a lot of stuff like that. Just, how could we use this money? And the folks that were savvy, came out with some really much better businesses because they did. And so as I was doing that, that was not government thinking. I was like, holy moly, there's so many moving parts for these SMBs. And like me, I know a handful of stuff, but I
Mhm.
need to know all of this. And so helping them get to know some of that will help them be successful if they're willing to do the
Absolutely.
work.
And that
Yeah.
comes into like the line of saying, "Oh my gosh, I know somebody that you need to know." I feel like at the moment I'm always building up like we could call it, we're old enough, right, to say my Rolodex of people
Yeah.
to know, and it's really cataloging them like, all right, who are the ones I trust, who are the ones that really solve these problems, and you end up kind of almost being like a puzzle master behind
Yeah.
the scenes for all of this stuff. What does it
Yeah.
look like with the let me dive a little bit more into the problems that you're solving with people right now with the company, um, because I loved getting into kind of what it is that you're doing and how it blossomed into very specifically that.
In terms of the immediate, what's going
Yeah.
on immediately. Yeah. So obviously everybody's a little bit uncertain. We're just not sure exactly what the impact is going to be. There's going to be an impact. We just can't really quantify it. So that freezes you into inaction. And then you always have to remember, just say, during any downturn or anything that ever happens, there are as many winners as there are losers. The key is to figure out what you need to do to make sure you're in the game. And then the temptation is, hey, maybe I'm a little bit liquid. Maybe my best bet is to just stick my head in the sand and just wait it out. And as we all know, that's horrible because it doesn't work, right? You are
No.
you're going backwards and you will perish. So really what's going here is I'm just kind of amping up the ROI conversation because right now long term could be 5 months.
Hmm.
Right now, you just don't
Yeah.
know. So say, look, you still got the problems, you still got to get better. We still have identified what the issues are. Why don't we do this? Let's find the hottest one, the biggest issue that we think we could get some impact, really have some fun with, crank it, measure it, see how it does, and then move to the next one. That way we keep a cadence of improvement, but you don't feel like you have to, go, just, oh my God, I'm stuck if something goes wrong. I think that's a big piece. The other piece I do is I've changed my marketing a little bit. Before we'd say we do the fractional role, we can help you out right now. But if you have an open role or you're a owner seller, which you shouldn't be, we'll move you out of that, and you've got to have a sales leader. That in today's market, especially in California, but even here in Florida, a decent sales manager package is going to be north of 250, 350, just depending on what the benefits package is. It just is. And they don't have an impact immediately. So I'm saying in the short term, what if you have somebody that knows what they're going to do? They're not going to have they're not going to be bound by all the internal office stuff. They're just
Mhm.
going to simply create impact immediately, and it costs you less than half.
Yeah.
And by the way I structure my contracts, 30-day out. If you just say, oh, yeah, I don't think we're going to need you anymore, cool. That's great. That's whatever. I never want to take money from you if I'm not providing value. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to make it more palatable and just saying, let's just keep doing it, guys. You got to keep going. You absolutely have to. And it's always about looking at your business too. What can you make the most gross profit off of? Just like in the pandemic, are there any parts of your business that really maybe we need to look at? Maybe it's not a business you should be in. All of those things, it's a great time to do that. So you look at a challenge and say, yeah, but every challenge brings with it some new opportunities to do some things. Let's think that way. And I think that that positive mindset and that energy enables other people to go, oh, okay, we can do it. It's the idea, because we're all coaches too, because sometimes you need a kick in the butt
I
and we'll
know.
say, you're going to be okay. And,
I
and I love that. And when they finally sit back in the chair and they go, okay, I'm like, okay, no,
Yeah.
get excited. Let's do this
Yeah.
thing. So,
Listen, listen, right?
yeah.
Oh, man. All right, there's one question I always like to ask people, because like you said, "Oh, man, I'm never gonna retire. I'm gonna keep doing this as long as I have, like, breath in my lungs to shout to the rooftops of what I could do to help people out." That
Absolutely.
is a trait that not everybody has, and I always like to ask you, like, "Why do you keep trying so hard?" And I feel like I
Yeah.
can see your heart in it, but just
Yeah.
to let you tell us, like, why do you keep trying so hard for these people?
It is literally enjoyable. I don't know how much I laugh in a day, but it's a lot. It's good. It's fun. Sometimes it makes my brain hurt, which is good too. You're just thinking. I just love it. And honestly, some of it's logical because I look at retirement as we kind of the way I grew up with it. It's really a construct of the 20th century.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that prior to say the 1940s or 50s. It just became that when the industrial machine post World War II got on, and that's where my family. I'll never forget because my dad was an electrician, obviously, or my adopted dad, and he was in Saudi Arabia. And I'll never forget because back then we did long distance phone calls, not like now where you can, it's real. The delay to Saudi Arabia was about 5 seconds. So you can
Mm,
imagine how awkward those phone calls were. So I remember calling out, I was waitress or I was waitering, and then I got my job, my first job selling copiers, right? So I'm calling Saudi Arabia to excited. I have a job out of college. I remember it was just dead silent for about 15 seconds. I'm like, are we still connected? And I'll never forget my adopted mom saying, well, don't worry, honey, you'll find a real job one day. So I was
oh,
laughing,
no.
right? So in the blue collar perspective, they were like, sales guy, oh God, why'd you go to college for that? And so it was just funny. But that's what it really was. Their idea was go to a great company, work hard, get a retirement, play golf, watch TV for the rest. And I was like, that's not really healthy. So for me, life is as much as I can possibly enjoy and experience and share and help other people until it's game over time, right? And I think it keeps you healthy. It
I think
hopefully
so
keeps your
too.
brain going, but it
Yep.
keeps you moving. It keeps you doing that. It keeps you joyous. It keeps you humble. Because
Mhm.
I think there's a sense of, oh, I accomplished all that. Now it's time for me to relax. I'm like, I'm just one of those people. I can relax I'm good for a half hour. Now I'm ready to do something else, right? I want to do something else because it is certainly energetic, but I have more fun than sitting still. So for
Mhm.
me, it just makes sense. And it's just really the love of people because no two people are the same. They're all really cool in their own way. People that annoy me still intrigue me. I'm
Y
just like,
yeah.
oh, that's
What
wild.
makes you
That's
tick? How
really
are you like this?
why are you like that, right? How can I be like you when I need to be? But I love that, and the more it feels like wealth has something to do with freedom and knowing the maximum amount of cool people you can meet. somehow that seems to be the return because it makes you smile. So yeah,
Hmm.
that keeps me going. It's not terribly complicated.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
Mhm.
This has been incredible. I feel like we could go on forever,
Yeah.
but let's do this. I wanna wrap up, but I want you to tell everybody maybe a couple of one-liners or like cherished piece of advice that through your highs and lows or mentors that have shared with you. And I know you probably have so many, so I'm leaving room for it. So like some of your lasting nuggets you want to leave with everybody.
I'd love to. I mean, one of the things that I do that always people are shocked by is that, I'm in sales. So everybody thinks that sales are weird animals, and we are. We're terribly weird. But it's so funny because the world is full of poor salespeople not hitting quota, full of mediocre sales managers who were once stellar salespeople. And the reason I say that is that we treat sales as some sort of entity that has a degree of chance to it. If we get lucky, we get lucky. And I go, that drives me nuts because sales done well is a kind of like accounting. It has a specific process, specific targets, specific things you do. It has KPIs you measure. You change behaviors when the market changes. You do all of those type of things. So it's a process. And then hiring the right people, because if you do it alone, salespeople, and I am honest engine, if you took all of the sales hires I've done in my life, it would still not be a very good um, baseball batting average.
Hmm.
And that's because it takes an army. You need multiple perspectives to get who people are from a sales standpoint. Do they love people? Do they love to help people? Will they work as a team inside the team? Are they thoughtful? I always take them out to lunch, make them interview while they're eating because you can only be so guarded there. And so sales recruiting should be slow. Sales process should look like accounting, which people are like, really? I'm like, yes. And by the way, you need technology.
Hmm.
It is no longer possible to do sales properly without the proper tech stack. And that's where we help too, because everybody knows you probably get 8 emails a day. New toy, new tool, let's try this. Well, we do that too. And the right tools for the right company are very important. But tech stack, process, and just make sure you have the right people. Those things are key. And it's the place, if you go to any sales team that's struggling, you'll say, oh, they're struggling in each one of those. Like, yeah, it is really that simple. I say simple in concept. The work itself is extremely specific and it has to be done a specific way. And the cool thing is when you get to watch me do it and how I'm doing it and explaining how to do it, you can then do it on your own. It's not that, but it's not intuitive, not like other parts of the business. So that's really it. Those are big.
Man, that's huge.
Mhm.
Being able to adapt nowadays and wake up and smell it sooner than later, and then really hire out experts, fractionalizing if you have to, because
Yeah.
oh man, you're missing what you know what? If you are not hanging out with people that are much, much, much smarter than you, come join a networking group. Come hang out with us. Like, come see who we know. And by asking the right questions, like, who do you know that I need to know? That's one of my favorites lately. Or
It
even like,
is.
who do I need to know that you know, right? Like maybe I'm lacking. If everybody
It
should be
is.
hiring coaches left and right to make everything they're doing better.
Well, you bring up an awesome point, and that's really important. And it's that feedback. A lot of times it's like, hey, great job. We got a new sale. Ring the bell. And that's great. I've got to do that. That's really fun stuff. But the tough love stuff is really important. And that's where it's really on sales managers. I'm like, hey, did you do one-on-ones with your entire team last week? No. When was the last time you did a one-on-one with them? I'm like, understand the sales meetings are good. I get that. The stuff you're doing is good. But that time you spent 15 minutes, half an hour one on one saying, I love what you're doing over here, but I got to tell you, the trends are not where they need to be. What's going on, man?
Yeah.
Those conversations move the ball. And most sales managers fail at it. So I'm like, look, that personal connection, when you get deeper, and I have to get to know you before I can insult you a little bit
Yeah.
because you won't run away and just say, Tiffany, love all the stuff you're doing there, but I'm a little concerned about this. Can we talk about it? That is how you change behavior. The
Hmm.
rest of it is important, not nearly as important as that. And it's
Yeah.
missing. So,
And, like, little minor corrections by meeting with your team weekly instead of, like, once a quarter or once a year being like, "Well, we are not even on the same continent at this point," right? Like
right. Yeah, because you get negative feedback and you're like, where did that come from? right?
Yeah.
And now it's destructive, and
Yeah.
that shouldn't be that way.
Course
And
correct.
it's easy. It's easy if you do it, but
Hmm.
it can be a problem if you don't. But it's fine.
Oh, my dear. This has been so awesome. I feel like at this point, okay, people are thinking, all right, I need to know Tom. I need him in my life. What is your favorite way for people to come find you
Yeah.
and connect with you?
Oh gosh, I'm easy to find, but LinkedIn is my world. By the way, if you ever see my profile, I am user number 4796. So I am that long on LinkedIn. So it is really my world out there. So it's great. DM me, send me an email. My email's published in there, whatever you like. If you ever just want to see my website, it's a long one, but it's kind of cool. It's brand new. It's Focus Insights Group.com. That's my company, Focus Insights Group, and it's pretty cool. And it's one of those stories where I did all the building myself. Never do that yourself. And then finally, my wife, who is the marketing mind, said, "Okay, you're done," and she grabbed it and found experts on Upwork to make it sing and dance. So
There you go. Make it better.
I know.
You
So,
were
but
bored
it's
for a
cool.
moment.
So
You did it yourself, right? That's what
yeah,
happens. I get sucked into that stuff too. I'm like, I'm just going to build it myself real quick. Nate, what was I thinking? What was
I'm
I
just,
thinking?
I don't know. I do it to myself all the time. It's a problem, but
I think it's because we
all
can't
good.
be bored. It's all good.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but
Oh
yeah,
man.
so great. It's been wonderful, Tiffany. Thank you so very much. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you on. And everybody, if you for some reason you're like, oh, what's his name? Show notes right down below. Friend me on LinkedIn, friend Tom on LinkedIn. So that way you can get connected with him because obviously this is a one-on-one conversation that he wants to have with you to see if you are a good criteria so he can help you. And if he doesn't, then he has people. So he's like, oh, I'm not a good fit. Like the same with me. If I can't help you, how do we find people that you
Yeah,
need in your world? And that's what we want to be the like a problem solver, like a super connector of all this. So,
yeah.
um, thank you guys for hanging out in the show. I'm excited to see you on the next episode, whatever episode you're going to watch and hang out with us. And thank you again, Tom, for coming. And it's been a great show. Bye,
Thanks for
everybody.
having me. Bye bye.